Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community. We were racing C-Class Classic Roadsters. Me and Husky had started fairly near the back and I'm kind of glad for it. On this occasion there was a big laggy accident that sadly took out 4 cars or 5 cars I think. I wish there was more we could do about that. I can't fix them, unfortunately. And yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Although everybody else got through the first corner rather, well, I should say second corner actually, fairly straightforwardly. Is often we have accidents here at Camino when people forget that we're on the short track, or you can outbrake yourself very easily into that first corner. And everybody got through there fairly cleanly, except for, as I said, the laggy crash. I'm driving the black and orange Healy Sprite. Husky is driving the gold Ford Thunderbird, and my Sprite was really rather good through the corners. It has huge amounts of grip. As we can see, go around the final corner as the California runs out wide. I move up another position. At the front, there was another Ferrari California that had led the way. It got a huge lead after just the first lap, and then everything went wrong as he came down the second corner. Has a bit of a roll. It was rather scary for all of us going flying past with the car that has just crashed. Amazingly, only one person clipped him, and the car that hit him was a car that was already off the track. It was having its own problems as well. Yeah, we got kind of lucky there, all managing to avoid that. It is one of the downsides of running Camino. It is very, very easy to roll your car there if you are not incredibly careful. Even if you are careful, it's very easy to get things wrong and flip your car, as you saw there. The midfield early on was pretty damn busy as Husky's Thunderbird made up another position in the background. I think the Thunderbird and the California had it coming together. You're not going to win against a big, heavy American car in that kind of a battle. Yeah, Husky's Thunderbird was doing pretty well. I expected the bigger, sort of faster, more powerful cars to be struggling around this track. There are some straights here, but it is a very technical circuit, and despite that, Husky's Thunderbird was doing pretty well. After a couple of laps, my Sprite was absolutely flying, and I was on the back of the leader who was driving the Jaguar something or other. I've forgotten the name of the blooming car, and I was going pretty damn quick. This Sprite really suited this track. In fact, it was so quick I was caught out by the Jag. I can carry so much speed through the corners. I thought I was far enough back to be doing that, but no, the Sprite can carry just so much corner speed, it catches you out, and I wasn't expecting. I thought I could take that corner at sort of normal speed for me and not have a problem. But yeah, I may have driven into the back of the Jaguar, which is my fault, and I broke my car. I did quite a bit of damage to the aero, and the Sprite with 119 horsepower doesn't like it when you do aero damage to it. It loses all of the speed that it had. Not that it had very much to begin with, but it loses all of it. They do struggle. If you take aero damage in a very underpowered car, you really, really notice it. There was another Sprite that was making progress through the field. He was stuck up behind the back of a Thunderbird. It was quite difficult to get past the straight line speed cars with these, as you would imagine. Although on a track like this, the Sprite does have such a huge amount of grip. It's not as bad as on some. As you can see, the Sprite is all over the back of the Thunderbird as they come down the front straight. Ignore the slight rescue work going on in the background, but the Thunderbird has got a pretty big sort of margin by the time it gets to the first corner. The Sprite, though, is all over the back of him, and he can carry so much more speed, and then the Thunderbird goes for a roll as well. I'm not sure if the Sprite actually hit him once he was rolling, or if they actually managed to stop that and avoid the crash. Either way, I don't think the Sprite took too much damage, and that was another very good job of everybody avoiding the rolling Thunderbird. Further back, there was more racing going on. Camino's a bit of a funny track. This one, it's very fast. It can be a bit difficult to overtake on. There's not a huge amount of good overtaking spots. This final corner, maybe if you get things right, but it's very, very wide, and you can take different lines, and you can normally defend fairly well. These two are sort of evenly matched, both more of a straight line speed sort of vehicle as they run through the first quarter, both struggling a little bit more around here than some of the small lightweight cars as they run through the second and third corner. I'm not entirely sure what happens here. It looks like from that angle, it looks like the Thunderbird got things a bit wrong in the braking zone, and then when it cuts to the other one, it looks like the Corvette may have had a couple of wheels on the grass. Either way, the Corvette finds its way past. At the front, and sorry, not at the front. This is the second and third. Me and Husky were locked in a battle. I'd had a bit of an accident on my own and dropped back behind Husky, damaged my car a bit more. I'd hit a laggy back marker. Not much you can do about that one. They were trying to get out of their way, or trying to get out of my way, sorry. But there's a bit of lag going on, and I found myself in the very annoying position of having the incredibly fast car through the corners, but just no acceleration, no straight line speed. Because of the very broken aero I now had on my car, I was really struggling. I'm struggling a lot more than I should have been really with this car, which meant that I just could not find a way past Husky. I think my car was still a little bit quicker, as I could carry just unbelievable speeds through these corners. I just couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't get past him, even when I got my car in a good position. Whenever I put my car in a good position, he would just out-accelerate me out of every single corner. It was a little bit frustrating. It was a good battle, this one. Again, I'm trying to find a place that I can get past. There's not really. Look at how much speed I can carry through there. I've made up huge amounts of time on just that one corner, and then there's another straight again, and then I've lost all of that time by the time we get to the final corner. Final corner, is an odd one, trying to overtake on Husky. Actually outbrakes himself a little bit there. I'm still all over the back of him. I'm literally right on his bumper as we come across the line, or I was, and he's just got so much acceleration. And I was having a really tough time trying to find my way past the Ford Thunderbird. If I can get a good run through the second corner, I can have a dive through here, which I do, and I get my car up the inside, and then Thunderbird's gone by the time we get to the next corner. There was very little I could do on that one. At the front though, and it was the Jaguar that had led most of the race after the California had ended up on its roof. The Jaguar had inherited the lead, and after I'd driven into the back of it and killed myself, the Jaguar was miles ahead of the rest of the field. There was a few, because it's such a short track, you actually end up lapping some of the vehicles, especially in a race like this where there are quite a few damaged vehicles. So that's why there are lots of cars around. The Jaguar was actually quite a long way ahead of the rest of us. Now I thought I'd include this. So this is with the cars I said that were a lap down, were coming to finish, so ignore like mine and Husky's cars, because this is just the AI driving them. And Forza is funny with lag. This race, I don't know how that works. I'm not sure quite how the game decided this Austin, whatever it was, should end up on its roof. But there we go. Good old Forza. I'm not quite sure on that one either. Anyway, we go on to race 2 at the Road Atlanta short circuit. The sprites were going to struggle. At least my sprite was going to struggle here. I knew I was going to be in trouble. In trouble? I don't know what that was supposed to be. In trouble. That's what it was supposed to be. I don't know what I came up with. Because this is very much a straight line speed circuit. Yes, there are corners, there are fast corners. You will need a car with a vague amount of grip. However, the straights are huge on this track, for C-Class anyway, they're very long straights. So the straight line speed cars were likely to dominate on this one. Amazingly, the first couple of corners had been very, very clean. There'd been a little bit of an incident further back, I think in Austin, is it 3000 or 300? I can't remember. I should have put the thing up on my screen and I can't see at the moment. One of them got spun around. However, everybody else got through the first few corners incredibly well, which is rare at Road Atlanta. At the top of the hill, there is normally some argy-bargy, but no, everybody got past there all right. Husky was already got quite a big margin, while the rest of us were scrapping over sort of second, third, and fourth. This Corvette was making up ground as we were battling with each other, and as there were some long straights, the Corvette could catch up to the back of us. As we run onto the front straight, it is a Ferrari and a very, very fast Healy Sprite, built completely differently to mine, I would presume, as it had huge straight line speed, but nowhere near the grip through the corners, as you could see. The Healy was really struggling so much that the California drove into the back of him, and I did the same thing I did in the first race and drove into the back of the California. The Healy then ended up on its roof, which isn't particularly surprising. These things are notoriously easy to roll if they have enough grip, because they're so light and so tiny, and you can see how much grip my Healy has as I sweep around the outside of a Corvette, going through the very fast corner there. That was a bit of a nerve-wracking moment doing that overtake. Luckily my car is so tiny you can get away with doing that kind of thing. California, that had a bit of a bad start, being caught up in traffic, was making its way through the field. Californias were a very, very popular choice. They were probably the second most popular car behind the Thunderbird, and they're fairly dominant in B-Class. You can get incredibly fast ones in B-Class, and they're also pretty damn good in C-Class. They're certainly not sort of like the ultimate dominant vehicle, I wouldn't have said, in this race. However, they are very, very competitive. While there's an Austin and a Corvette having a battle, the Ferrari then goes and makes up pretty much 3 places in 2 corners. Absolutely soars past the Austin. The Ferraris were pretty good on the straight line speed. That's why they're actually good in B-Class. I can't remember what race we did. When did we run them? Was it Classic Cars? I think when the Californias were phenomenally fast in B-Class because they have a lot of straight line speed and still handle pretty well. Again, a fairly similar thing with the Thunderbirds. If built correctly, Huskies there was a couple of others as well that were very good. You could get a lot of straight line speed out of them and still have them handling fairly well. This race was I wouldn't say a little bit more boring. It was just not quite as action-packed. The field became quite spread out. I think it was to do with just sort of this sort of track. A lot of straight line, and it was almost sorted, not quite sorted by straight line speed, but that played a massive factor in this race. These 2 Austins were built very, very differently. One was a straight line speed car, the other was a handling car, and the straight line speed car is currently leading. And you can see there's just no real way of overtaking around this track if you don't have straight line speed. Top of the hill, you won't be able to get past. It's very rare you can go too wide through there. All the way down here, again, it's so tough to get an overtaking manoeuvre done here in any of the fast corners. And like you saw, I could sweep around the outside, but you have to have so much more grip than the car you're racing against to be able to do that. Overtaking was very, very hard if you didn't have the straight line speed advantage. Husky, though, was in the lead and pretty much untroubled. You can see there's nobody in sight at all for him in this race. Yeah, the Thunderbird was a pretty damn good choice here. The Californias are pretty quick as well, and if some of them hadn't been damaged, they probably would have challenged sort of Husky for lap time wise if the positions had been different. But the Thunderbird was a very good car at Road Atlanta. We move on to the 3rd and final race at Tsukuba. And this is actually a tough track building cars for it. It should favour the handling car. It's a very tight circuit. However, there are some long straights here, and if you've got that bit of straight line speed, you might be able to hold somebody off. Another bizarre laggy incident occurred here. I have no idea. I'll show you in a minute from a different camera angle. It was a huge crash, and it took out quite a lot of cars. Again, you can see the big gap from this group of vehicles that were mostly okay-ish, but even then, the ones at the back had still been involved in the crashing, or be involved a little bit in the crashing, I should say. It was a pretty mental start for this one. Again, me and Husky had started fairly well up the order on this one. In fact, Husky has got himself to the lead, and I'm now battling with another Sprite. So this is from 16th on the grid. I think there are 16 cars in this race. The Corvette gets a very, very good start. These things are fast accelerating. Probably got a lot more power than most of the vehicles around him. As he comes to the first corner, everybody's doing fairly well. There's a little bit of bumping, and then there's a sort of a yellowy coloured something, I didn't have time to see what that was, that lagged around and threw cars pretty much everywhere. That's they can't really do much about that one. It is a shame, as that took out 4 or 5 cars probably, and then you can see here the blue Thunderbird in front is smoking. There's other cars that are smoking. It's very hard to tell what's damaged in such a laggy replay as this. I can't quite tell how damaged some of the vehicles were because the telemetry goes a little bit wonky on the most part. But yeah, I would say there was only 6-7 of us that got away from that first corner thing without any damage. It was pretty mental through there for a lot of the field. The field was going to spread out in this one. Again, much like at Road Atlanta, it was going to spread out, only this time more through damage than through kind of track and speed. However, there was still some racing to be had. I'm not even sure. Is it a Triumph? I think that's the Triumph T something or other. I don't know. It was very, very good through the corners, but coming up against a Corvette that is going to be quicker on the acceleration. Wasn't actually that much quicker in a straight line. I was surprised to see. There were some of these little cars that were surprisingly fast. This Sprite was another one that was very, very quick in a straight line as he was battling Husky for the lead now. Around the outside is a very long way to go at the hairpin, and the green Sprite just doesn't quite have the grip. I don't know how he's built his car. I don't know what he's sacrificed to get the extra power in that thing. It is very, very quick. However, through the corners, this is where my Sprite comes in. My Sprite is phenomenal around here. I can carry huge speed through these corners, and I find myself now on the outside of Husky at the second hairpin. Unfortunately, the green Sprite gets a bit of wheel spin and kind of loses a bit of time. That is the downside. If you're going to run with a car that's all about power, you can lose control of it. Whereas my car is just stuck to the road pretty much, lacks the straight line speed, maybe not quite as quick over the course of the lap as the green Sprite. It is easier to control. You're going to make less mistakes with my car. I'm right on the back of Husky as we come towards the first corner, but I can't really do much down here, as he's just got so much more speed than me. I'm looking around the outside. I want to try and keep my car around the outside so I'd get a good position for the next corner. Can't quite do it as Husky's just got the acceleration. And again, I'm back to battling with the Thunderbird. We come up towards the first of the hairpins. I'm still looking around the outside. It's not quite going to work, so I do sort of a bit of a cheeky cutback. I'm going for the spectacular here as we go around the outside at sort of past the Dunlop Bridge corner. Yeah, that's always scary. It's always scary when you try that manoeuvre, especially against a massive car like the Ford Thunderbird when you're driving a little Sprite. Any contact and I would have been in the wall and out of it, and the Thunderbird would have carried on without any problems pretty much. As we run on the back straight, I thought I might be in trouble. I think Husky got a little bit out of shape running on here, but you'll see the amount of time he is gaining by the bottom of the straight. However, he's too far back to have a look, and I've got so much grip I can take a lot more corner speed through here, and I've got a bit of a breathing space now. Further back, there were still some battles going on. Again, I'm not sure if this blue Thunderbird actually had engine damage. I'm not sure if the engine should be smoking. If it is, he's doing a blooming good job of keeping up with the rest of the field. Yeah, there was a lot of broken cars. What can I say? They were still racing. Like, the Battle of the Broken is pretty much from 6th downwards, and might even be as high as 5th at the moment. That's just how it went in this race. The Thunderbirds, again, they're an interesting choice. I didn't expect. There's loads of Thunderbirds in this final race as well. There's about 4 or 5 of them. Didn't expect them to be particularly popular. But they do seem to be a pretty damn good overall C-Class car. They've got plenty of speed, although this one hasn't because it's a bit broken, and they actually are quite manoeuvrable. They're quite good through the corners. I wasn't expecting to say that today. Again, this is another midfield battle. I think this is lower down the top 10 between a Triumph and a Corvette. The Triumph is going for around the outside at the first hairpin. That's a tough place to overtake. However, he may just have the grip, and he keeps his foot in, and is a long way around the outside there. However, if you get it right, you can put yourself on the inside for the next corner, and that's a pretty solid move. That's probably my overtake of the evening right there, going around the outside of the first hairpin. That's a very long hairpin to go around the outside of, and he just had like a wheel on the dirt on the exit, got away with it, kept his foot down, and yeah, that's a very good overtake, especially on a car. Again, much like with me and Husky, if there had been any contact between the Corvette and the Triumph would have come off a hell of a lot worse, as it's not going to weigh anywhere near as much as the Corvette. Corvette's having a look at the final corner, but can't really do much. You can see how much the Corvette is struggling with the handling. So I was leading. I'd led for 2 or 3 laps, and it wasn't a particularly comfortable lead. Husky and the green Sprite were all together. Unfortunately, an out-of-control back marker spun his car, crashed onto the road, and there goes my aero again. I tried my best to avoid him, but that took out the front aero, and if that wasn't bad enough, I promptly rolled on the next corner, doing a double barrel roll and killing what was left of the aero. Amazingly, despite all of that, my engine was absolutely fine. I don't quite know. I drove, to be fair, I drove into the back of 3 cars and had another crash with a spun Thunderbird in this race. None of it damaged the engine in this Sprite. It's remarkably strong. The aero was gone. I'm not even sure if I didn't break one of the brakes or suspension or something. The roll and the crash really hadn't helped my Sprite very much. And the front and it was the Thunderbird versus the Sprite. Pretty much a race-long theme, really, with Husky trying to defend from the very, very quick Healy Sprite. I think the only downside really with running such a fast Healy is that you kind of lost the main advantage with the car. When you run one very light, when it's all handling parts, you carry ridiculous corner speed, and this one wasn't any better through the corners than Husky's Thunderbird, and it wasn't much better in a well, I think they were pretty much even in a straight line, although the sprite's in the slipstream, so that's probably made it a little bit faster, which is going to make overtaking very, very hard. If Husky keeps his car on the inside, he's got just as much acceleration as the sprite, so the sprite can't really use that, and when it comes to sort of handling, the sprite's not massively better, so it's unlikely he'll be able to do sort of around the outside manoeuvre somewhere. Again, he's trying to go around the outside at the hairpin, but he hasn't quite got the grip, and yeah, he can't quite get it done. It was very close, again, much like the Triumph passing the Corvette. Almost managed to go around the outside of the hairpin, but this is where the acceleration of the Thunderbird comes in. It's just a little bit more. I think on sort of top speed at the end of the straight here, these two are pretty even. Maybe overall top speed, the Thunderbird will beat it, but it's the acceleration where Husky's Thunderbird was just getting the sprite. It was just that bit faster out of the corners, and yeah, that made Husky very, very tough to overtake. The green sprite threw pretty much everything at him, and there was nothing really that he could do. And as they come around the final corner, Husky runs a little bit wide, and they are across the line. It was a pretty exciting race, this one, for certainly the people who had survived the brokenness. It was fairly exciting. I'd got myself racing with a Corvette that was a lap or so down. I think this Corvette was broken. I don't even know how many laps down he was. He was broken in the first corner accident, and yeah, I thought, well, we'll have a go. We'll have a bit of a race. Might as well. Not much else was going on, and while I dived up the inside of the hairpin, there goes the power. An awful lot of power in the Corvette, or an awful lot more than me and my damaged aero. It wasn't really helping. However, I did have still pretty damn good grip through the corners. I was hoping I could get sort of a cutback on the final corner, dive up the inside. Not that it was for position, it was just for fun, really. Couldn't quite do it. The Corvette had the acceleration and stayed ahead of me, even though I think I ended up finishing fourth or fifth. Fourth, I don't know, a position. Yeah, there we go. That is it for this race. I'm a little bit disappointed. I think my sprite could have done better. On there, it was one of those days. Unfortunately, Husky did very well with his Thunderbird, getting 2 firsts and a second, I think. However, that is it for this week, so thank you very much for watching. The next versus the community, I'm not entirely sure what it is going to be on. There are supposed to be multiplayer replays coming for Forza 5. I believe they are coming on the 4th of February along with the new car pack, and I've recorded this video a day before, and they may or may not be working properly. So what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm going to be saying it is going to be held on a Thursday as per normal at 7 PM GMT time. I cannot currently tell you what game it is going to be on. However, on the forums, there'll be a link in the description. When I post up the sign-up thread, it'll tell you what we are doing in there. The sign-up thread may not quite be up yet. I may well be experimenting and seeing what Forza 5 is going on. So that the sign-up thread might be up a little bit later than normal. Just, yeah, have a look on there. If the Forza 5 replays are working fine, it will be on 5. If they aren't, it'll be on 4. So, yeah, that is pretty much it. So, until next time, goodbye.